French territory where Carlos Boulozan once lived to tell the story of the rain, sweat, glory of Mike Jackson men who fight the destination we were destined to end. Left a writing on the wall in the halls of the Nippon Khan. Others transformed, majority Decepticons. But my conception of the walk.
All right, we're back on a Monday. There's only 2 days left of 2024. And I'm
It was
here.
some great music that faded us into this, Kev.
Yeah. I actually did the work.
Yeah. And now it'll be real awkward if you don't. So
yeah, I'm trapped.
Yeah, you're trapped. That was my plan anyway. So
this is Kevin. He's Brian. It's the Wait for It Seattle podcast hosted on Seatown Sports. We need to have a executive discussion on whether we keep the name Wait for It Seattle or Seatown Sports, because I was having a holiday party conversation where it got revealed. Actually, the podcast got revealed to two separate groups of people. One, my work buddies found out, and then Christine's family found out that I had a podcast. And
can I ask you a question
yes.
before you go on?
Yeah.
How do you respond when it gets revealed? Do you get like sheepish and weird?
I say, it's pretty cool. Like, it's nice to do on the side. And we've done it for 30 straight weeks. And I do a little humble bragging if I'm in the mood or if
nice.
I, have had a beer or two. But this is a no beer situation. And basically, Christine's sister was saying, well, isn't it called Seatown Sports? No, I said that was the name of the Substack. The Wait for It Seattle podcast is what we're called. But it doesn't matter, because if you search for us on Spotify or Apple, if you search Seattle Sports or Seatown Sports, we'll show up. So it functionally doesn't matter.
If you go to any website, like if you go to the Ringer, great sports website, great industry entertainment website, they have podcasts that have names that aren't Ringer.
Yeah.
Some of them are like Ringer NFL show, but then some are called like Against All Odds with Cousin Sal, right? Like or whatever it's called. Yeah.
So the cool thing is as you're listening to us, you're hearing us hopefully evolve and get better at what we do. But we're also open to your feedback and suggestions on how we can get better, how we can maybe promote the podcast. So maybe more than 30 people or 40 or 50 or however many people listen to this thing. It always blows my mind that 100 people download this podcast, though. Right?
Okay, so if 100, like, we never know anything every week. Like, we have no idea how many people listen, but 100 people download it
consistently.
Do you have to
100?
Like, this is going to show my ignorance, but somebody has to click a button, or is it automatic download for some?
Depends if they subscribe or not in whatever settings, but Substack kind of it aggregates everything. So everyone's getting a behind the scenes look right now.
Yeah.
But who knows? Let's get into four downs. By the way, like and subscribe. What's our first down? The Seahawks failed to make the playoffs.
Yeah, that's our first down.
Were you holding out hope as the Sunday was progressing, like all the way to the awesome, epic Michael Penix game Sunday night?
It's a good question. I was really annoyed with Kyler Murray throwing a 105 mile per hour fastball at Trey McBride's head and I was annoyed with their coaches for throwing the ball. The Cardinals should have won that game, but that would have made it fun this week.
Yeah.
When that didn't happen Sunday, I woke up with a little hope. I'm like, this can happen. Like, the Dolphins can beat the Browns. The Packers could beat the Vikings. They're pretty 50-50. The list of teams. When the Vikings beat the Packers and it came down to the end, I was listening on the radio, driving with my family. And I was like, And then you needed the Falcons and the Lions tonight to win, right?
Yeah.
Penix threw that pass. It was really, really cool. But about that time, I saw Corbin Smith send out the tweet that there's like 12 teams that had to win in week 18 in addition to the week 17. Yeah. I was like, oh, it doesn't matter.
Also, after watching the Thursday night game,
you're done.
Yeah, there was just the Seahawks were not supposed to make after watching that, they did not deserve to make the playoffs.
I think you can make the same argument about the Rams. Now, the counter to that is the Rams beat the Bills in an awesome game. And so
Yeah.
that's kind of what screwed this whole thing up.
Yeah.
We had projected on here that they were going to lose to the Bills, and if they lost to the Bills, they would be tied going into this week.
Yeah.
Um, I guess you could say if the Seahawks hadn't lost to the Giants a long time ago, but whatever. The Rams have won multiple disgusting games, including that Cardinals game. So
Yeah.
I don't know. I think the idea that the Rams are going to be some fun 4 or 5 seed, or I guess they'd be a 3 or 4 seed, is silly. Man, Penix was fun. That was good.
Yeah. I
Fun.
think he's an NFL quarterback. And I was
Oh, he
thinking of
looks great. Yeah.
what you said earlier about him making the throws.
Hmm.
He's in a totally different offense than he was when Ryan Grubb was running it with Washington Huskies, and he had arguably better receivers on that Huskies team than what he has with the Falcons. Like he is just totally relying all on Drake London and to an extent Kyle Pitts. But he just looked like he could just make every single throw, and his arm willed them back into the end zone.
Yeah.
That
It was a
finals, yeah.
vintage Penix
It
laser.
was
It
just
was
like,
awesome.
oh, it was great.
It was the best catch of Pitts' career, who's been terrible too. But it is cool. Like Penix, Bo Nix has been like pretty good, if
Yeah,
not good. Jaden Daniels is amazing. And Drake May is really good. So that's like 4 rookie quarterbacks who are legit. And like that doesn't happen very often now.
yeah.
And that's not including Caleb Williams, who I think actually is going to be a bust, but we can talk about that at a different time. We need to talk about the Seahawks part of this. So yeah, you asked me the question, did I have hope? It slowly faded. Do you think then that this is now we've talked about this a little bit before, but
Mhm.
now that we're closer to the end, is this season a disappointment for Mike McDonald?
For Mike McDonald or for the Seahawks org? Because I think there's two different
Well,
questions.
tell me both. Yeah.
Okay, so for Mike McDonald, no. I think he took over a team and he was implementing a system. And I always think of when there's turnover, when there's someone new, there's this bar graph, and you could relate to this as a teacher. So they showed this as a they showed this bar graph to us as a first year teacher to make us feel good. This was way back when I first started teaching in grad school, and this bar graph is this graph which shows like your performance as a first year teacher. So basically, what it is, it shows month by month, and I forgot what the metric was, but you see this like huge dip in like the first 3 months where it's just horrible, like you're
Yeah.
just failing,
You're
and then
trying to
it's
survive for
trying to
sure. Yeah.
survive, and then you get to maybe like around now January, December, where it starts to like kind of rise up, and then there's exponential growth like near the end.
Yeah.
And I think that I always think of that when I think of the people taking on new jobs or doing
Yeah.
new things.
Totally agree. Yeah.
There's this implementation dip where you kind of have to believe you're doing the right thing, and you kind of have to suffer a little bit. And
Yeah.
we totally saw that in this season where they went on that, they ripped off 4 games, and then I think they lost 3 or 4 straight or
Yeah.
something like that to go back to 500.
They won
So
their first 3, then they
yeah,
lost 4, so they
four
were three
straight.
and four. Yeah, yeah,
Yeah. So I think that's what happened to McDonald. And then he was near the end, it started to look like this team had an identity. And
yeah,
frankly, like he had an identity as a coach, right? He didn't really understand. And I'd be interested in hearing what your first
yeah,
year was like as a coach. Um, so I think it's for him a success because it could have gone the way where that bar graph for him never really rose,
yeah.
but it did. Yeah,
Yeah,
go
we
ahead.
live in this society in general that judges people so quickly, right?
Yeah.
This is for players too. I mean, this is part of the transfer portal pandemic epidemic, more of an epidemic,
Yeah.
where everybody just leaves because it's not good right away. And I think
Yeah.
of all these kids I've coached and all these students I've had, and you're right, in jobs I've had and jobs I've known of other people, there's such a learning curve right away.
Hmm.
And yes, my first year as a head high school coach, I have said to players on that team, I wish I had your team in my fourth year because we had a really good team. And we went to
Yeah.
state, we had a fine year, but You just learn. You learn so much in each year. And I guess the people who don't learn and evolve are the ones you got to cut bait with. So the Matt Eberfluses of Chicago of the world, right? Who
Yeah.
didn't seem to evolve at all. But I mean, Sean McVay is a great example. Kyle Shanahan's a great example. He was like under 500 in his first 3 seasons with the Niners, and they kind of tanked and had injuries and stuff. But yeah, and this is the argument I made in a post this week about Ryan Grubb. Um, and it's a sports world where people want instant results and everybody wants to fire Grubb, but I feel like he's a learner from what I've seen. And so I'd be really curious to see what he learned from the first year and what he comes after an offseason to do versus, okay, let's go hire another guy in his first year. And then this is what we do as fans. We get super excited in week one, which is what they did with Grubb. They're like, look at the formations and look at the trips left and the motion. We never had this with Shane Waldron. And then now in week 17, it's like Grubb can't. I mean, Hugh Millen's on the radio today slamming him. And maybe rightfully so. Maybe he needs to learn some stuff, but give
Yeah.
him the chance to learn. And Mike McDonald's the same way. Like, give him the chance to adapt. Not that they're going to fire McDonald, but I'm really curious to see what they do next year. They're going to have theoretically a nice schedule. They've already kind of released who they play based on how they finish. It's a lot of Titans and Jaguars, Of course, they could have new coaches and new situations, but I think the Seahawks are in a decent spot. But the question is, Gino, and it's been our question all year. We've talked about it a number of times. So I'm going to present it to you in this capacity, and you're just going to react, if that makes sense. Okay.
Hmm.
It's gonna be me talking for a little bit here. Okay, I was talking to Justin, one of our loyal listeners, who texts me a lot, texts you a lot. He's a segment for the podcast, and we were kind of talking about Gino. He's like, they need to replace him, but he's on a contract that's pretty affordable. Now he wants a new one, I think, but he's under a pretty decent contract. So there are tiers in the NFL. So elite coach, elite QB is a tier that everybody would want to be. I'd say only the Ravens and Chiefs are in that tier, right? So Ravens have an elite coach, Chiefs have an elite coach. I put Lamar Jackson, he might get a third MVP, I think. I mean, Mahomes, they're there. Good coach, elite QB. This might not be fair, but that's the Bills. I don't know that Sean McDermott's elite until he wins a Super Bowl, or has a run in the playoffs, but I think Josh Allen's elite. Good coach, good QB. So this is good situations, right? Chargers, Niners, debatable with Purdy. Texans, Lions, and Packers. Right? Even though Goff makes a good amount of money, Jordan Love's making a ton of money. They get good coaches, they get good QBs. It's worth paying for. Is that fair? So far?
Yes.
Okay. Cheap quarterbacks in good situations. Commanders, Steelers, and Vikings. Steelers is questionable, but Russ is making $1 million a year. I mean,
Broncos are paying him.
yeah, true. Yeah. Teams with good QBs or situations, good QB situations. Patriots, Falcons, Bucks. We talked about some of these. Broncos, maybe the Panthers, depending on if you believe in Bryce Young and what he's done in the last 6 weeks. But he's cheap. He's a rookie deal. This is the whole thing with a rookie deal, right? Mid teams with bad QB contracts. This is where you don't want to be. This is the thing about don't overpay Gino. Jets, Browns, Jaguars, Cowboys, Cardinals, Dolphins, Rams, and Bengals, maybe. Like, depending on how you view Stafford, Burrow's an elite QB, but they have a bad coach and their team might not be good. Their defense is terrible. So the Bengals might belong somewhere else. And then the no direction teams are Saints, Bears, Giants, Raiders, Titans, and Colts. Colts is debatable. They have a young QB, but I think he's not very good. So I don't think the Seahawks are in the no direction tier, right? Although somebody could argue it. Like, what is the direction of their quarterback? They don't have a bad quarterback contract, so they're kind of in that mid with a decent QB situation. I don't know. Where do you put them? Where do you think Gino puts them in these tiers? I know I listed a bunch off quickly.
I think you're probably in mid teams with not good, but I don't want to say a good QB situation. I think it's an
Yeah.
okay QB situation.
Yeah.
And I guess it just depends on perspective. But our perspective as Seahawks fans is Russell Wilson in his prime for 7 years and not having to have this discussion. year after
Right.
year. Um, I think the other thing you have to think about is Geno Smith's job is important to him, but John Schneider, I think, might start sweating a little bit. I mean,
Hmm.
they haven't, um, they'll miss the playoffs again this year. So this means that the Seahawks will have not made the playoffs since 2022. So that's 2 years without making the playoffs.
Which is the first time they're not making it back to back since
Y-
08, 09.
Yeah. And this is like, I mean, the Seahawks franchise before Carroll was Holmgren, and Holmgren had immense
Yeah.
success. And so you tie the two things together. Well, we replaced the coach, but we're still running out a 9-8 team, right?
3 years in a
So
row, it looks
three
like.
years in a
Unless they
row.
win on Sunday and they go to 10 wins, but who cares, right? What's the difference?
Yeah, you missed the playoffs.
Yeah.
So I to me, I think that Schneider, eh, whatever the QB direction is, I think it's people aren't thinking enough about, well, he's trying to look out for his own job. And I think that uh, I advocated for, and we'll talk about it in our New Year's
Yeah.
resolutions, but I think that he needs to draft a quarterback.
Yeah.
He hasn't. Can you believe they've only drafted two quarterbacks
He
since he
must
took
have
over in 2010? That's
yeah, he must
insane.
have a philosophy about it.
Yeah,
Well, he drafted Russ, right? And they signed Matt Flynn, and then after that, why would you? I get that.
yeah.
Then when you get the Geno time, it seems like they would. But I wonder if he's in this camp of, and this would be reinforced this year, the Sam Darnold, Baker Mayfield, right? The resurgence of these guys who once had pedigree but weren't good and just need the right situation. I mean, maybe he just thinks that's the way to go. Um, it's cheaper than the franchise QB, but the counter to be you get a rookie quarterback on a rookie deal. That's how you win. It
That's
seems
how
like
they did
that's how they
win.
did it. Yeah.
That's how they did win. So it's not like he hasn't seen it work before.
Right.
So I just think that I think it's not that it's long overdue, but I think the timing is do it now. Like
Yeah.
take some risks. I mean, I'm of the belief that um why not wind it up for McDonald if this is his team? Why not
Yeah.
give him a quarterback,
Well,
right?
if you're gonna wind it up for McDonald's, I think, and everybody is clamoring for this. I mean, they've
Yeah.
got to address the offensive line, but we'll talk about that in our New
Yep.
Year's resolutions. All right, second
All
down,
right.
Kev.
Second down.
Let's talk about
Washington
basketball. Yeah,
Huskies basketball.
yeah,
It says it starts Big Ten play for the men's.
yeah. Both have played
Yeah,
already.
they
Yeah,
both
yeah,
have played, but
yeah.
the non-conference schedule is kaput after
Right,
this week.
right. Let's talk about the women first. Did you get a chance to watch any of the game against Northwestern?
I saw the highlights.
Okay.
Yeah,
I watched the whole game. It was perfect timing. It was a morning game. I'm on
yeah.
break. Um, El Ladine put up 40 points. Our podcast guest,
Best.
El Ladine, who
On her
I think
birthday.
on her birthday,
On
right,
her birthday.
right. Which I also got the text from same listener, Justin, who said, I wish there were props to bet. It's El Ladine's birthday. And then she went off for 40. He was right on it. You can't bet on it, at least in Washington. But she was 15 to 25 from the field. She also had 6 assists. Her 40 points tied Juju Watkins for the most points in the NCAA this season. She had 26 in the first half. The game was awesome. It was a fun game. Both teams were running. First quarter was lots of made buckets. In some ways, who was overshadowed in this game was Delia Daniels, who had 20 points and 15
And
rebounds.
it's double double.
And she had some blocks that just sent absolute trauma down my spine because I coached against her and she was such a force in the paint.
Where'd
And
she play her high school ball?
she was at Garfield.
Garfield. Okay.
And her blocks were demoralizing because they weren't like swinging blocks. It would just be like you turn to make your move and she just has her hand there and it's like you can't go up. So you
Yeah.
just feel frail and idiotic as you're trying to shoot and she just demoralizes your soul. So she had a couple of those as well. But I wrote about this in the mailbag that it's not the opening of the season. They lost to UCLA. I think they've only played UCLA before this. So they were 0-1 in the Big Ten. But the women go to Northwestern, and then they go to Illinois tomorrow morning. While people are listening to this, they're probably playing right now as you're listening. And then they come home to Wisconsin. And they got to
So
make some
weird.
hay. They got to
They
make some.
come,
I know it is
they
weird.
come home and play Wisconsin.
I know. I love it so much, Kev. I love the Big Ten. I think I watched so much Big Ten basketball growing up,
Yeah.
and it was probably because it was just on ESPN so much. And this is the Pac-12's own fault, but being on late night Pac-12 network games versus Big Ten having the 4 o'clock spot on ESPN, I just watched, and then the last 4 years I've watched a ton of women's Big Ten basketball.
Yeah.
So I just think it's awesome matchups. It's really fun. But Illinois is 36th in net ranking. Net ranking is basically replaced Ken Palm as the thing that the NCAA looks at for making the tournament. And then Wisconsin's 90th. So I think the Huskies need to, I mean, winning at Illinois will be really tough. Illinois beat Oregon, but they got to beat 1-1 against Illinois and Wisconsin. That'll put them at 2-2 in the Big Ten. Then they play Michigan State and Michigan on the road, who are both top 25 net ranking teams.
That's
I mean,
still
even
one.
yeah, 3-3 would feel pretty good.
Yeah.
I mean, they might honestly, Kev, 12 teams are projected to make the tournament out of this conference. Huskies are not projected to be one of them, but I feel like you could almost be under 500 and make the tournament this year in that conference.
And during conference play.
Yeah, because you got to be like in the mix, right? You got to be 2 games under or 3 games.
Yeah.
You got to be.
So it sounds like the hope is that the women's team is on the bubble at this point, right?
Yeah, they certainly are more on the bubble than the men's team.
Yep.
The Husky
Speaking of the
women
men.
are 66th in net ranking.
Okay.
So that would, right? That's bubble-ish.
Yeah.
That will go up as they play in the Big Ten, even when they lose. When they play USC, it's going to go up because you're playing the top 5 team in the country. So,
Yep.
yeah. So I think they come home to Purdue after that stretch. So I think 4-3 is not out of the realm of possibility after the first 7, which you would feel good about. I encourage people to watch them. They're fun to watch. El Ladine, shout out, 40 points. Most successful podcast guest we've had. Sorry, Sam Hyatt. All right. So, like you said, compared to the men, have you watched the men play lately?
Yeah, I watched the first half of the NJIT game, and then it felt like it's diminishing returns.
Oh, good econ
Considering
term. Yeah.
the NJIT team, I use Ken Palm,
Yeah.
and there's 364 Division One basketball teams after Washington beat NJIT, New
By
Jersey,
40 points.
and Institute of Technology.
Mm-hmm.
They dropped to 357th, so they were pretty bad. And I just feel like I wasn't gonna learn anything more about this team than I would have if I watched like 5 minutes of an actual
Yep.
or 10 minutes of an actual competitive game.
So
Um,
fun part of this. My whole family, the 4 of us, went to this game.
Did
It
you
was fun.
stay for the entire
We
thing?
stayed for the whole thing.
Did you know
Um,
that they were ranked this bad? Like
No, I knew they were
NJIT?
bad. They were 2
Okay.
and 11 on the season or something. And then as the game started, I realized their best player wasn't playing.
Oh no,
Yeah, the guy who averaged 18 and a half, because
it's probably
My
already
young-
in the portal.
my youngest son, Felix, comes in the games with scouting report. He's like, who's their best player? He's like, who is it? I'm like, well, he's not playing. So, and then Lincoln wanted to see a dunk. So when Tyler Harris head tapped somebody, banged on him, he was very excited. The Huskies looked awful against Seattle U. They got outworked. They looked bad on defense. Here's what I learned from this game. The Huskies were better on defense. I know the team's not very good, but in fairness, Seattle U is much more talented. But Seattle U had 2 wins against Division One teams going into the UW game.
Yeah.
They were 4-8, but they only had 2 wins against Division One teams. They had battled some injuries. I'm guessing they're going to be pretty good in the conference actually, because they had a guy from Georgia who transferred who was playing in that game. They got some dudes. I mean, John Christophilus is from Creighton. They got some
Yeah.
Division One transfers. But
Yeah.
here's what it comes down to for the Husky men. And I saw some stat somewhere. When they shoot well from 3, they win. And when they don't, they don't. and they
Yeah.
shot 10 of 24 from three in this game. And
Who are the shooters? So I know DJ Davis can shoot it.
DJ Davis is supposed to be their shooter, and against SDU, he just bricked all over the place.
That's why they lost.
Christian King's a shooter for them. I mean, he's their best
Yeah.
shooter. He just doesn't get a lot of shots.
Yeah.
Um, Jace Butler came off the bench, looked like he was ready to shoot, but he doesn't play that much. But that was what was interesting. 11 guys played significant minutes, and it was early rotation,
Yeah.
including Casey Abekwe,
Oh, he's back.
who's enormous and was in the rotation early. And I'm guessing this is because they're going to play Maryland next, and Maryland is big.
Do you what the eye test?
Yeah.
And I've seen the discussion about how Great Osabor is out of shape.
Mm.
Did you pick up on that?
No,
Does
I don't
he
think
look
he's out of shape.
I think
He
he's
looks
just a big
like
guy.
Yeah, he looks like who he is. He's a big
Yeah.
guy. He's going to struggle against Maryland, I think. Maryland has a guy named Derek Queen who is legit 6'10", sick NBA prospect. If you're going to watch this Maryland game, you watch Derek Queen. He's awesome. But here's the big picture problem. I don't think Great Osabor is in bad shape. I think they run too much through Great Osabor. I think everything's about Great Osabor, and
It looks bad when he's not on the court.
yeah,
The offense.
and it's sort of even awkward when he's on the court because when he can beat up an NGIT player one-on-one in the post, you're like, that guy's amazing. But when he's going against the big boys of Maryland or somebody doubles him and they miss shots, they just look bad.
Well, here's the
So-
optimistic view. I mean, hopefully that raises his game. And I mean, you don't just win Mountain West Player of the Year and just turn to crap, right? I think
He's not bad. No,
Yeah.
I'm not saying he's bad at all. Like he's
Yeah,
so good one-on-one in the post.
yeah,
What I'm saying is it's one thing to be good one-on-one in the post against mid-level teams, including Mountain West, even though that was a great conference last year.
yeah,
The Big Ten, whether the teams are better than Midwest, Mountain West teams is a different conversation. The players who play in the Big Ten are the guys who are on draft boards because they're 6'10" or 6'11" with length.
Yep.
And those guys are hard to score against when you're 6'9" and you're Great Osabor.
yep.
So what do the Huskies do when he's not scoring? The guards have to be better, and the guards have been very, very average.
It just feels like they try to beat guys off the dribble and then they kick out to shooters that can't shoot.
Yeah.
That's just a very elementary take on what the offense looks like without when things aren't going through Osabor.
I want to.
we
yeah.
talked about Tyler Harris
Oh,
becoming
he's been so average lately. Oh my
yeah,
gosh.
but and I think that's kind of on the coaches, right? He had so much momentum early, and they really haven't done anything for him.
I mean, I get your point. I
Yeah.
also feel like, I mean, Tyler Harris, if you're going to play in the NBA, like, you got to be a dude, man. Like,
Yep.
the ball touches his hands plenty of time. He doesn't seem to have any sort of aggression going to the hoop or any idea of how he can shot make.
Yep.
So that's a challenge for sure.
Hopefully he'll learn.
I want to talk about this Danny Sprinkle quote. Can you read it?
Yes, there's a lot of times this program and a lot of programs haven't won 9 games all year. Let's not forget that. This team being a brand new team, that's hell of a non-conference for these guys to be 9-4 before New Year's. That's a heck of a job by this team and by my staff. I'm not taking any credit for it.
Okay, let's pause there.
Yeah.
I have a little critique of Danny Sprinkle here. I'm not sure what I think about Danny Sprinkle yet. Okay. He says a lot of programs, a lot of times in this program, they haven't won 9 games all year. Let's not forget that. What is he hyping up here? He's hyping up their 9-4 non-conference where they beat Colorado State, Santa Clara, and WSU as their best wins, and they lost to Seattle U. And maybe he's just doing it for the guys because I think he's a hard ass. Great. But Danny, only since 2004, 2005, so 20 years of basketball, Lorenzo Romar and Mike Hopkins.
Yeah.
Okay. And I am not always an apologist for either one of them, but don't be the new guy coming in here and pretending like it hasn't been good. 1 season with 9 wins and 1 with 10 wins. Okay. Hopkins had a year with 5 wins. That was bad. Okay. So I think that's 3 total in 20 years of his threshold, right? 10 years with 19 or more wins in that span.
Yeah.
So you want to come in and talk and tout your 9-4 non-conference record? Here's their schedule. Maryland, 13th in net ranking. Illinois, 9. At Michigan State, 23. At Michigan, 17. Purdue, 37. At Oregon, 10. UCLA, 16. In order. Danny, my guy, you're in danger of losing 7 in a row right here and being 0-9 in the Big Ten.
The worst case scenario is this just turns out to be the football team, right? And they just go on the road and just keep on losing to these superior Big
Oh,
Ten
this is going to
programs.
be worse than the football
Yeah,
team
it's like a
because
bloodbath.
these are like, as opposed to the women who have some winnable games coming up, I don't know if they can win these games.
Yeah,
I'm hoping they play awesome. I'm going to go to the Maryland game on Thursday.
yeah.
Whole family's going back. Star Wars night, Kev. We're in. Excited. Let's go. I might wear my R2D2 sweatshirt to the game.
I got a JJ Chewbacca lightsaber for Christmas.
Okay, first of all,
This is
Chewbacca doesn't have a lightsaber.
it's so confusing, but the handle is Chewbacca. It's so weird.
Well, it's
Anyways,
inaccurate, and now you're a bad dad. Third down. Let's go.
third down.
Let's go quickly through third down, but I want to talk about the Kraken.
Yeah, what's going on with the Kraken?
All right, so you're not watching hockey, clearly. Here's what's happened to the Kraken this week, Kev. They went into a Christmas break. And actually, this is interesting. I think you'll like this. Do you know the CBA and the NHL negotiated a legit like 6-day break over Christmas?
That's wonderful.
Isn't
Do
it
you think
cool?
they did it because it's like a winter sport and, Christmas is in the winter?
I would have to read.
It's
I
so
would have
dumb.
to. I mean, the NBA is also,
Yeah.
and they play on Christmas a lot, or the day before the day, not the day before actually, but the day after. Um, in some ways, it's dumb by the league because Christmas Eve could be like the NHL day because there was not sports on Christmas Eve this year.
Which is
It
so
was
weird
one
because
bowl game.
yeah, we had freaking NFL,
We did. Yeah.
college,
Yeah.
and NBA all on Christmas.
Yeah. The
Ah,
NHL could take advantage of this, but their players, good for them, negotiated this.
yeah.
So they come out of the break. They had lost 5 in a row. And I read a stat that said basically no team ever makes the playoffs if they're 8 points out at Christmas. And the Kraken were 8 points out of a playoff spot. So I was like, oh, cool. They're not going to make the playoffs. This sucks. And they may not. But I'm going to tell you a little story. I'm at the mall on Saturday with my wife and her friend.
God, your life is so exciting when you're not working.
Yeah, the mall is really exciting. I was at Bellevue Square. It's the first time I've been to a mall in a long time.
See?
We let
Exciting, right?
we let the kids loose to like explore the mall. Did you ever do the mall stuff when you were a kid? Like,
Oh yeah, all the time.
okay, so they'd never really done this. So the kids, these 4 kids, got to wander the mall.
They're like, this is what a store is.
Yeah, Felix came back in tears because they wouldn't let him get Happy Lemon. Do you know Happy Lemon?
That's boba, right?
Yeah,
Yeah.
boba and bubble waffle. So I had to go take him back because the big kids were being mean. Anyway, as this is happening, I check my phone and the Kraken are down 4-1 in the third period against Vancouver, and I'm sad. And then my wife's friend runs into some friends and they're talking. I don't know these people, so I'm like, I'm gonna go into the Kraken team shop. I walk in. The 2 Kraken employees say, they're kind of just nerdy hockey guys. They're in jerseys. There's nobody else in the store. And I am a very introverted guy, but I felt extroverted at the moment. I said, when are the Kraken going to win again, guys? And they go, we just did. And I said, what? I just checked my phone. And they're like, they came back, tied it, and won in overtime.
That's
And then
amazing.
that night, I went home and watched it. And Kev, it's awesome. Like, if
Yeah.
you can get a hold of it, there's under 5 minutes left. They're down 4-1. This has only happened 2 other times in the history of the NHL. And they came back and tied it, and then they won in overtime. What was cool about the overtime win is the guy who turned the puck over for the Canucks, concussed Matty Beniers a couple years ago on a kind of a cheap shot. So he blew it. Vancouver had a 3-on-1, terrible pass. Vince Dunn, a defender, steals it, goes the other way, breakaway goal, scores, great celebration, huge win.
That's an awesome story.
It was really cool. It was
This is
awesome.
one
I
of
was
my
like
favorite
high-fiving these
stories.
guys
Yeah.
in the Kraken store. People are walking in. I'm watching highlights. I'm yelling. I told my wife how cool that story was, and she was like, "Oh, that's cool." Like wasn't that impressed. But then I just watched the whole game tonight
Yeah.
because here's the worry, right? You have this great win. What's it going to lead to? They played the Utah Hockey Club, the worst name in all of sports. That's the name of the team for those who don't listen to hockey or watch hockey.
Which would be funny because Seattle Hockey Club sounds way better than the Utah.
It totally does. You're right. Yeah.
The LA Hockey Club sounds better.
You
Anyways,
know, it'd be
continue.
cool, like Tennessee Hockey Club, because then you'd be THC as your nickname. Yeah, that'd be great. Anyway, Kraken win 5-2 tonight against a team who's ahead of them in the standings. Jaden Schwartz, 3 goals in 2 games. He had an amazing goal where he just flicked it off the goalie's back from an insane angle on the last game. Matty Beniers goals in back-to-back games. It's great. Here's my takeaways, though. They're not very good still. They have to play so hard and so well together to win. And I just think that's hard over the course of a season because, again, we've said it before, they don't have a dude who can just carry him. This is what Mel talked to us about on the podcast. So it's still fun when they win. It's fun to watch them. I hope they I hope they reel off a little winning streak and get back in the mix. But they face the Canucks, who come back here, who will be pissed off, the Oilers, and the New Jersey Devils in their next 3 games. So, could be
I
bad.
loved your analysis, but I learned something new, and the main thing
Yeah.
I learned, besides this, what you just
Historic
told
comeback.
the listeners,
Yeah.
is that Bell Square has a Kraken team store. Had
Yeah.
no idea. These
Pretty
are the
small.
things. Yeah, these are the things
Yeah.
I learned. So cool.
I've been to Bell Square and U Village, University Village, in the last over this break, and let me tell you, a lot of stores I don't go to. You know what store is underrated though? The calendar store.
Oh my God, the store that's open for like 2 minutes. Yeah,
No, it's there all year, but a lot of things are 40% off calendars, which makes sense. But also the puzzles. I like a good puzzle, Kev.
oh God.
Anyway,
Fourth down. On that note,
yeah, fourth down.
uh,
This is your
this
bag
is
right
the
here, Kev.
Huskies, right?
What you've been
The-
waiting for.
Yeah. So let me be honest.
Yeah.
I really don't care much for like the lead up to. So there was no post game preview, and I was like, why wasn't there a post game preview? Because it's hard to analyze an opponent
What's a post-game preview?
or a
What are you
pregame
saying?
preview. A pregame preview.
A pre-game preview, Kev?
Yeah.
That's what you're calling it?
A
It's just called a
preview.
preview.
Yeah.
It's just a preview, Kev.
God, you'd be a good.
A
Oh yeah,
bull.
you do. You're an English teacher. You're good at.
This is I'm just think of your
Yeah,
paragraph. I'm just
yeah,
crossing out and
yeah.
writing unnecessary words. Wordy.
Oh my God, I'm thinking
Okay.
of the software we have on our laptops. Anyways,
Sun Bowl preview. Why is there no Sun Bowl preview?
there's
Kev?
no Sun Bowl preview because the Louisville Cardinal are rolling out a fifth year player that's not the starter, who's their most important player, the quarterback. And then like the Huskies don't they can win, but like I'm looking forward to watching the Huskies, but I don't really know how much this game matters. I guess it matters in the sense that if they win, they end the year with a winning record, which is huge, right? 7-6 sounds a lot better than 6-7.
That's true.
And I do care about records. But
6
other
and
than
7
that,
seems lame, but
yeah,
yeah.
I don't know.
So you talked about the Louisville quarterback, right?
Yeah.
The fifth year guy replacing a seventh year guy, which I think is the most amazing part of this game.
Yeah.
That the fifth year quarterback comes in. He's the only option because 2 other guys transfer out into the portal. So they had 4 quarterbacks. They're left with 1. He was at Tennessee at one point. So he's like, he's got, he was a high recruit at one point in his life. But he's a 5th-year senior. You're like, oh, well, he's got to be replacing a redshirt freshman. No, he's replacing a 7th-year senior. So I don't know. I just thought that was funny. But their best receivers also not playing.
Yeah, so it's
And so
like the
it's
line
like-
has moved. I think Louisville was up favored by 5. Now they're only favored by 2.
Yeah.
So we gained a field goal with both of these.
Huskies have their team, basically.
Yeah, no, they do. I mean, they've had people leave to the portal, and I guess the only player that's in the portal that's playing is Jack McAllister, the punter. So
Thank God he's playing, because what would they do? Do they have a walk-on backup punter? They probably have some
I mean,
guy.
I don't know, but like, just go for it on 4th down with Damon Williams.
That's kind
Mix
of
things
true. It's a
up,
bowl
right?
game. Who cares, right?
Yeah.
Like do what Kevin Kelly.
Yeah,
Kevin Kelly time,
yeah,
4 downs.
yeah. Yeah.
Um
So,
I think I mean they have some good running backs. So if you're watching this game, again, you're probably listening to our podcast right as this game's kicking off. But Louisville has good running backs. I'm gonna say the Huskies win by 7.
yeah, I think Jonah Coleman's gonna have 2 touchdowns. That's my random
I like it.
prediction. Yeah.
But more importantly, the Huskies is this bowl game doesn't matter, as you said. But
Yeah.
building to the future on3.com, which seems to care a lot about transfer portal stuff, and
Yeah.
people seem to go to, has the Huskies with the ninth best transfer portal right now in the country.
Yeah. I think they're behind Oregon, or maybe I was looking at the 24/7 sports
Yeah,
rankings.
they have the Huskies a lot lower. But
Yeah.
um Jonte Cook, receiver from Texas, a
Yeah.
5-star high school recruit, committed to the
Yeah.
Huskies. This is big.
Transfer portal's interesting because most of these guys you'll look at, I guess maybe like I think of two buckets. I think of established player
Yep.
that's done something at their previous school and they're moving over and they're going to bring production.
So let me give you
Full
examples. So
stop.
linebackers, the Huskies gamed. Tariq Al
Oh, Ukta.
Ukta from WSU,
Yeah.
Jacob Manu from Arizona, and then I don't know if Zuri Alexander has much playing time, but those other two are established, right?
Yeah, Zuri Alexander also. He's been a
Okay,
starter.
so
So
should all
yeah.
three be the starting linebackers next year? Like,
Yeah, I think
okay,
so.
I would think
Yeah.
so, right? We never know until
Yeah.
camp starts, right? But
Yeah.
those guys are established. Whereas
But then,
Cook,
yeah, Cook is someone that really has got buried on the depth chart at Texas, and
yeah,
there's a couple other guys that they're adding that there's potential, but it's not proven. So
yeah,
Cook probably has the most potential, and it's the most excited
yeah.
because maybe he can complement Denzel Boston, but he
Well,
really there's nothing to go off of, right? He
right,
hasn't
but
really
you talked about
played.
last week. They
Yeah,
had to get a dude at wide
yeah,
receiver.
yeah,
And I looked at their incoming class. They have so many receivers,
yeah.
and some guys are good, but how many true freshman receivers pop?
Yeah. Yeah, I mean that's true. And the other thing, I mean, this is kind of building off of the latter point, but we saw Indiana. Signetti was very vocal, like he prefers production over potential, right? And so
Yeah,
he brought like a chunk of guys from James Madison, which is not a major FBS
right.
school, and he was able to find success with them at Indiana right away. And I think that um uh it's hard to know if even that these guys like these linebackers that are coming in
Right,
are they going to be as good as Tupatal and Bruner?
right.
Maybe. Who knows? It's really hard to tell. So
Yeah,
part of it, the portal is just like being as good as last year
right.
as the previous season, and then hopefully you add guys where they're actually like pluses, right? They're adding wins. If we're thinking of in baseball terms.
We
So
talked
I
about
do
this
that.
last week when you said that I really like constructing rosters.
Yeah.
I have more fun, I think, thinking about the Huskies roster and thinking about camp and depth charts than I do watching them play.
It is
I
so
think that
chaotic.
it's so weird. I'm such a weirdo. Um, and I think it also has to do with I used to play the EA Sports college football back in the
Oh
day,
yeah, yeah,
and I used to recruit like I would play with Army and try to win a national championship and recruit. So I think there's some definite nerdiness going through my veins thinking about the
yeah,
transfer portal. Maybe that's why when I have friends at my age people especially don't like the portal, I feel like, because it's not their college football they grew up with.
yeah,
And I love it. I just love the chaos. I like maybe because I'm not a true Husky. Like I like the Huskies, but I can disassociate a little bit
yeah.
because I
I
didn't go
thought,
there.
yeah,
But I love
I
it. I love the portal.
I like so I've been doing a lot of reporting on this um and I thought, oh, it's gonna calm down, right? Like there's a dead period right now, and
Started like today, right? Or
yeah,
something.
or and the portal closed the 28th, but it really
Okay.
doesn't close because every time a playoff team, like a bowl game team,
Oh.
ends, their players get a chance to enter the
Oh,
portal,
right.
like
And
more
then if a coach
times.
leaves,
Then a
like
coach leaves.
remember
They,
that from
yeah.
last year.
So
Yeah.
like it just keeps on going, and I just feel like there's players that have played in these bowl games, or especially these playoff games, where they've wanted to actually play and then kind of enter the portal after.
Yeah.
So it really never ends, and it just sucks that it happens during this time of year, and there's no, I don't, someone needs to come up with a genius idea, but you can't move the school calendar.
Right.
So people forget that these players are also going to school.
I
So the
know.
semesters start in January.
Yeah, they have to enroll for second
Yeah.
semester, so they have to
So,
do
yeah.
that's why they do it now.
Yeah.
I don't know. If I was the czar of college football, I would get rid of all the bowls and I would do a bigger playoff
Mm.
of some
Which,
sort, like a
which they
play-in
do
type of.
in D2 and D3. So
Yeah,
it's not totally
yeah,
out of the
exactly.
question.
Yep. But I don't know. I'm a little bit more excited for the Huskies now because of
Yeah.
how the transfer. And there's another portal hot period, right? Like after, or am I wrong?
Yeah, there's a spring portal window, and you'll see more Huskies probably leave.
Yeah.
The one surprise was Kamari House going to
Right.
North Carolina, presumptively following Steve
Belichick.
Belichick. So
Yep.
that was a major loss for the Huskies. Everyone else probably wasn't getting playing time. Maybe there are a couple young guys that have potential, but that's who I'm pretty upset about
Yeah.
leaving.
He's the biggest one. The other linebacker, Parnam, is decent, right?
Yeah, he didn't really. Yeah, I think he entered earlier, or he stopped
Okay.
playing earlier. He was
I
injured.
just saw his name on like a website as like a
Yeah.
top linebacker leaving. I think Jack McAllister leaving is sneaky sucks. Like anytime you lose your punter who's established, it's a little
Yeah.
shaky to figure out who it
But
is.
we're
But
bringing in an Australian punter.
oh, we're all good then. Australian
Yeah.
punters are amazing. They always work. Like, has there ever been an Australian punter who wasn't awesome and he couldn't
It was on
pin people?
signing day. They announced him like at midnight because Australia's ahead of time,
Yeah.
and no one knew. Like no one knew who this guy was. They just announced him, and
So
then
this
Jack.
must be why McAllister's leaving. He knew
Yeah.
this guy's amazing.
I'm gotta look it up because
This makes me so
it'd be
happy.
horrible that I didn't know. His name is Dusty Zimmer.
Yeah, hell yes. I'm getting a Dusty Zimmer jersey next year.
Oh, he's
I'm
gonna be
in.
great for
Oh, this is
It was so
awesome.
great. They photoshopped like this janky husky uniform on him. It's so great.
I'm in. I'm so
Uh,
pumped now. I'm glad we talked about this.
Okay, Dusty
All
Zimmer.
right. Speaking of Dusty Zimmer and turning over a new leaf, our next segment is New Year's resolutions, but it's not for us because we would never share that kind of personal information with, with the people. These are the New Year's resolutions. This was a great mailbag question. If you want to read our mailbag, go see it. Kev answered this. New Year's resolutions for Seattle sports teams or college teams or individuals. And Kev, I'm going to say people should go read your stuff, but so I'll just big picture the ones you answered.
Yeah.
Julio, bounce back year. John Schneider drafting a quarterback, which you talked about earlier. And the Husky football team winning a road conference
It's
game, which was a good
really
one.
Low bar, but
That was a good one, though, because I didn't even realize it. I was like, oh, wow, that is a good resolution. So those are good ones. You could read more about Kevin's stuff. You got to go to the Substack, Seatown Sports. Go on Substack, follow us, subscribe. I threw some others out here, and we'll go quick. We'll just go quick through.
Yeah.
So here's one. Sounders management. You could also insert Mariners management, but we know this isn't going to happen. Sounders have done it before. Spend some money to go get talent. That's your resolution. That's it. Just go spend some money. I don't know who they are. Do you think I follow the transfer market for soccer players? I absolutely do not. I don't know who's good.
Yeah.
Yeah, I don't know who's good. I didn't know who Jonte Cook was until 2 days ago. Okay, and I didn't know Dusty Zimmer, who I'm in love with. So I definitely don't know some Portuguese third division left back. But I want the Sounders to spend money on somebody. Okay?
Yeah.
New Year's resolution number 1. Number 2. We talked about this before. I just want the
Yeah.
Kraken to find some consistent winning. Like, can we not win 4 in a row and lose 5 in a row? Can the Kraken just go? The playoffs were so fun 2 years ago. The New Year's resolution should be to find some consistency. Stop sucking randomly and then having to bench players and all this stuff. Okay? That's my New Year's resolution. That one's a simple one. You read the third one, Kev.
John Schneider. Let's pour all the resources into the offensive line.
All right. Well, Kev says we have to draft a quarterback also, but let's use
Yeah.
all other 6 picks on the offensive line,
Just
or
yeah,
have someone else pick for you and sign free agents for you because your track record with the O line,
is bad.
well, it's bad except for, I mean, Abe Lucas is fine when he's healthy. Charles Cross is good. He's not elite, but he's good.
Did any of the guys get better? Because I'm afraid for Scott Huff's job as a Husky fan.
I think the right guard, the 6th round pick, has shown this is actually my worry that they're like, yeah, we like him. He'll be our right guard next year.
Yeah.
I want a 1st round pick guard. I want a 2nd round pick guard.
I want
Like,
guys to be afraid of keeping their job is what I want. Like
yeah,
draft guys, I
I
want them to
mean,
sign dudes. Like I just want an all out
I don't
competition.
want the competition part, actually.
Oh, interesting.
I want the 1st round pick who knows he's going to start, who's awesome at playing guard.
Yeah.
Let's stop messing around with like, well, we found this twitchy edge rusher who used to be a quarterback and also played center field because we love him. You know, like the whatever the Bruce Irvin who nobody knew about.
Yeah.
Could we just go get a Steve Hutchinson, please?
Yeah, just go get a guy from Notre Dame. I'm sure there's some
Yes,
guy
get a
from
Notre
Michigan.
Dame guard. That's
Yeah.
all. Like, please, or a Bama guard.
Yeah.
Like one of those 2 schools. Just go put them. Even if we just took one guard who is an absolute stud with the number
Yeah.
17 pick or whatever. Oh, please, please, please. That's what I want. New Year's resolution for John Schneider. By the way, I think I'm going to write about his horrific free agent class of 2024. We talked about this one. Husky men's basketball. Hit some threes. That's your New Year's
Yeah.
resolution.
Easy.
But the second part, oh, Kev's yawn's coming. This is it should be a drinking game. The second part is find Danny Sprinkle needs to find the right guys. Clearly, this is not his team. So in 2025, his resolution should be go find your guys. Maybe
Yep.
he's done it. Maybe his recruiting class next year is the right guys. But we talked about this. It looks like just a random assortment of dudes.
That won 9 games. Not all teams. Not all Husky teams have done that in an entire season.
That's a great point, Kev. Thanks, Danny. Um, I just he seems like he came into this year. The big thing was like he had a style
Yeah.
and he had there was a personality to his teams, and I don't know what it is. So go find those guys. I want to see it. Um, Seattle Reign, Laura Harvey. Play the young people. That's your New Year's resolution. Stop playing old people. I'm ageist. They have
As
all
they
this young
bring in
talent.
Lynn Williams.
Lynn Williams is fine. She's gonna play. I'm talking about like they have all these 17 and 18-year-olds who have, I will say it this way. I talked to some sources in the league. How about that? This is true. Who played against some of the young players the Reign have in college and have said to me, a couple different people have said they were really good. It's surprising that other teams are playing rookies who weren't as good and are finding success and the Reign are not.
Yeah.
So I wonder if it's really hard for her to play young people. So I want her New Year's resolution to be play young people. Put them alongside the Fishlocks and the Lynn Williams
Yeah.
and whoever. But can we play some young people and develop some homegrown talent?
I love this. Dropping league sources
Oh yeah, I
near
got
the
league
end of the
sources.
podcast. Let's do it.
One more resolution for the Seattle sports community. Jerry DePoto, work some magic.
Yeah, just get us a third baseman and first baseman out of the woodwork and a second
We
baseman.
we got it. Yeah,
Get us an
I-
infield besides JP Crawford.
We
Just-
gotta have somebody to add to this team. Like they could be good. This team could be good. I don't even need, Pete Alonso, who we were rumored to be in the mix this week, which is absolutely absurd. One report, Mets offered 3 years, 30 million a year. Second report, Mariners are in the mix for Pete Alonso. What? The Mariners very publicly have said they have 15 million total. How could they be in the mix for Pete Alonso? That's silly. They're going to sign Justin Turner. Please, I love him. Go get Haesung Kim. Either Kim. There's 2 Kims out there who play infield. Get either one, and let's go. That's enough for me.
Yeah.
I just need a sprinkle of magic, a New Year's resolution.
Yeah, I mean, honestly, I just sprinkle magic on top of all the players to be average.
It's a great
All
plan,
the
Kev.
hitters. If all the hitters were just average throughout the entire season, like
This is a great New
I
Year's
don't need
resolution.
like all-stars.
Yes.
Julio can be an all-star, Cal Raleigh can be an
Yep.
all-star, but like everyone else, just be average.
Yep.
Just don't be bad.
New Year's resolution: Mitch Haniger, be relevant. Luke Rayleigh, be average. JP Crawford, be
Just
average.
be average.
Yeah. Let's go. Randy Arozarena, play to your baseball card.
Yeah, be
Like that's it,
average.
right?
Yep.
Mitch Garver, be your average self, not your bad self.
Yeah, I don't need career years from any of you.
No. Oh my God, this would be amazing, Kev. That's a great resolution.
Yeah.
Okay.
This is like our last top 5 of the year.
Yep.
Fittingly, I'm not going to give you a top. Like it's just trivia at this point for me.
Let me go first then.
Okay, you want to go first? Okay, go.
Is that okay?
Yeah.
Okay,
Yeah.
great. All right. Happy New Year, Kev. I was thinking about the Seahawks and that offensive line issue and what went wrong this year because their defense is really good at this point. Mike McDonald has established a defense, even without as many dudes as they will have, I think. But they don't have a running game. And you talked about Scott Huff and worried about him. So Kenneth Walker has, let me make sure I have it correct here. Oh boy. Kenneth Walker last year ran for 905 yards. This year he's run for 573. Obviously he's been hurt. Charbonnet's run for 510. Okay. 23 times the Seahawks have had a 1,000-yard rusher in their history. It's a fair amount of times. A lot of Kurt Warner, Sean Alexander. Oh my God. Kev, his peak. You were right. It's amazing. And then Marshawn, right? A lot of that. Only 6 times did the Seahawks have a leading rusher as a running back who finished under 600 yards rushing.
Ah, one of these.
Pretty low bar.
Yeah.
Okay. 6 times. Now, you're not going to get the 1981, 1982, and 1984 players. I don't think. Now, one of them is not fair because in 1982 there was a strike, so it was a shortened year. Have you heard of Sherman Smith?
Nope.
He used to be the Seahawks running back coach. Anyway, 1982, 202 yards. Theodis Brown in 1981.
What a
I'll be honest.
name.
Never heard of him. 531. 1984, David Hughes. Also never heard of him. 327. So they're all around Kurt Warner time. Sherman Smith was the leading rusher for the first 4 years of the Seahawks franchise. So I gave you those ones. So this is not even that hard.
I need
2010, 2016, and 2017. Those are your years. Okay.
Maurice Morris.
No, good guess. Strike one. Under 600 yards. So just to the listeners, because I know they play along while they're in their kitchens.
2010.
2010 running back, 2016, 2017. All 3 finished as the leading rusher under 600 yards, which is a terribly low bar.
Who is the guy that wasn't Chris Carson? Julius Jones.
No, he was close. Julius Jones finished under 700 2 years in a row and led us in rushing. So you lost. You got your 2 strikes. 2017, Mike Davis.
Oh my God.
Remember Mike Davis went to the Niners later? 240 yards rushing, was our leading rusher in 2017. Russell had like 600 yards rushing that year, but Mike Davis, that's bad.
Was Marshawn injured? He was gone.
That's
he
a good question. He
retired?
might have been gone. I don't know.
Yeah.
Well, it's 3 years after the Super Bowl, so I think he was gone and then he came back, remember, like in 2019 or whatever.
Yeah.
All right, 2016, everyone's favorite, Christy Michael. Everybody loved that guy. All the promise in the world. Led us in rushing with 469 yards.
Not promising at all.
Here's the one that's going to surprise you in 2010. Marshawn Lynch. 573 yards.
Was he traded?
I think it's the year he got
Mid-season.
traded. He played
Yeah.
12 games. But 12 games, that's not a lot of yards still. He was only like 3.4 yards per carry. He wasn't awesome his first year. That is the year of
Dude, like
Beastquake,
a
though.
fifth of that came on the Beastquake. Or no,
Well, it doesn't
it's
count playoff.
regular season.
Yeah. The Beastquake is amazing. So like then his legend became, and he got hyped, and it was great after that. But
Yeah.
so my point is this: I thought it was a good trivia
Yeah, it's
game. It was
great.
too hard for you. Um, Charbonnet could end up with 600 if he gets to 90 yards on Sunday.
I don't
But if
think
he
he's gonna.
doesn't, they're both going to be under 600, and that is an indication that the running game is broken. We already knew it was broken, but I don't know.
The names
Charbonnet
you
looks okay.
the names you named besides
Yeah.
Marshawn Lynch.
I don't know if Kenneth Walker's good.
Yeah.
I mean, he's hurt a lot. That's the thing. I guess he's had 1,000 yard year and a 900 yard year, but we're waiting for another like Chris Warren. We need a Chris Warren type year, a 1,200, a 1,300. We don't need an Alexander. That would be amazing because we'd have to have an O line. But we need a good year. So that's my other resolution. We need a 1,000 yard rusher next year.
All right, so my top five is Husky Bowl game, more
Love
like
it.
trivia. So we can stick with rushing, we can do passing, or we can do receiving. What do you want?
I feel like we did one of these before. No,
Not for bowl games.
oh, it was something else.
Yeah.
Let's see. Passing, receiving, rushing. You just pick one.
Okay, we'll do passing.
Okay.
Okay. How about most passes attempted? The record is 54.
Attempted.
Yeah, so there are three quarterbacks here, and these are in bowl games,
Yep.
and they're all tied for 54 pass
Keith
attempts.
Price is one of them.
No,
No,
that's your
what?
first strike.
No, that was a guarantee. I didn't even need a clue that Keith Price had to have in the Alamo Bowl.
No,
Okay.
he had the most
disappointed.
yards passing,
Well, that's what I thought you were
438.
asking. No, I'm just
No, pass attempts.
kidding. All right. Let's pretend that didn't happen. Okay. Give me some clues for these three people.
Okay, so one of them is early 2000s, and
No,
then
give me a year. Come on. Give me a year. I gave you years.
2002 and 2001. This guy did the same.
Same guy?
Same guy.
Cody Pickett.
Yep. 54 against Purdue in the Sun Bowl,
Oh,
2002.
yeah.
And then 2001 Holiday Bowl against Texas through 54 passes.
Was that Drew Brees in the Sun Bowl?
No, so Drew Brees was
2001?
2001 in the Rose
Yeah.
Bowl.
Yeah. Against Tuiasosopo, or was Pickett the quarterback then?
Tuiasosopo.
Yeah.
So weirdly enough, we have like the Huskies have history against Purdue. So when
Yeah.
they play next year, weird. Okay. Anyways, I'll just give you the two other ones unless you want to
No.
get.
Give me the
Okay.
years. Let me
Okay.
guess.
2019.
Okay, 2019. This is a bowl game.
Yeah.
Tell me who they played. Help me
They
out.
played Ohio State.
2019 is tough. There's people who are like, I absolutely know who the quarterback was. Jake Locker's before that. Jake Browning.
Jake Browning. By the way, the Washington Huskies in 2019 were 10-3, and they
Yeah.
lost to the Ohio State Buckeyes, who only lost one game that year, and
Yeah.
that was Urban Meyer.
Did you go to that game?
I went to that game.
Yeah,
Yeah,
that's what I thought. Yeah.
people forget about that team.
The team was good.
That team was really good.
That bowl game sucked though, right?
Oh yeah, I just remember that.
we
What's his
couldn't
face
do
didn't
anything.
play. Yeah, it was bad.
Yeah.
Anyways, I lost my thing.
Oh, God,
Okay, here we go.
Kev.
Okay. 2022.
Okay. 2022. Wow. Okay, so Michael Penix.
Yep.
No.
Alamo Bowl. Yeah.
Alamo Bowl. Yeah.
Penix Jr. Alamo Bowl through 54 passes.
Wow, that's a lot of passes.
Yeah. So amazingly enough, Keith Price has the most touchdown passes in a
Yep.
bowl game with 4, and that happened at Alamo Bowl. He also
Oh,
has
I
the
would have
lo-
guessed he had 7 in that Alamo
Yeah,
Bowl.
also has the longest touchdown pass to Jermaine Kearse,
Oh,
80
Jermaine
yards
Kearse.
in that same game.
Yep.
Most yards per completion, Keith Price,
Yep.
19 yards per completion. He went 23 completions for 438 yards against Baylor. And he also has the highest completion rate.
Keith Price.
Completion percentage, 77.3%. He went 17 of 22 against BYU in the 2013 Fight Hunger Bowl.
Did Keith
So,
Price get drafted by the Seahawks? Did I make that up?
no, I think he was an undrafted. He might have been an
But
undrafted
did he get
free.
invited to camp?
Yeah,
Yeah,
he might have been
I did.
a
Signed by the
UDFA.
Seahawks.
Yeah.
Camp 2014.
So, as good as Michael Penix was the last 2 years, Keith Price owns the quarterback bowl game passing records playbook
That's wild.
record.
Give me one more bonus one just for fun for the people still listening. Give me
Yeah,
the most yards in the year and the opponent in a bowl game for Huskies. Rushing.
rushing.
Yeah, give me rushing. And let's see if I can get it.
Yeah, 2013,
Ooh. 2030. Who'd they play?
Boise State. And I think Marcus Tuiasosopo was coaching because this was the year Sark left.
2013? There's no way I'm gonna get it. Tell me.
Bishop Sankey.
I always forget Bishop Sankey.
205 yards rushing.
God, he's awesome. He went to Gonzaga Prep, right?
Yep. Yep.
Yeah. It's amazing. Bishop Sankey.
Um,
What a stud.
yeah.
He should have been an NFL. Well, I guess he was, but
These are, I just love reading these records.
Yeah,
I'll
it's so
just
good.
read off the rushing records. Most rushing yard attempts, 34. Chris Polk had
yeah,
against
Polk was a workhorse.
2010 Holiday Bowl. Um, Longest TD run, 69 yards, Miles Gaskin versus Penn State, 2017 Fiesta Bowl.
Miles Gaskin.
Rich
4-year
Lex,
starter.
yeah.
So crazy.
Longest run, 50 yards, Richard Lexus versus Purdue, 2001. And then Gaskin had 4 touchdowns against Southern Miss in the 2015 Heart of Dallas Bowl. I feel like there's like 500
Do not
different
remember
Texas Bowls
us playing Southern Miss
in the
in
Heart
any
of
bowl game.
Dallas Bowl. Yeah, I don't remember
Uh,
that game at all.
Don't
Gaskin
remember
does,
that
though.
one. Yeah. Gaskin's still in the league? Is he on a practice squad or
Yeah,
something?
I think he's on the Vikings. He made the squad. He just doesn't play.
Yeah.
He'd be great for the transfer portal.
Man, he's got like all the records, right? Husky
Yeah.
rushing history, basically,
Yeah.
because he played all 4 years and he
Oh,
had 1,000
God, he
yards
was
every
great.
year.
Yeah.
I've told you
Um,
this before. In high school, he played a half against the Seattle Prep Panthers, and Miles Gaskin was a
Oh
dude.
my
I'm
God.
like,
Oh, he's on the Jaguars.
oh, he should be playing then. Kev, I want to finish with one thing here for you.
Yeah.
It's the quote of the week. The quote of the week was from my cousin. And she said, I'm not sure Kevin knows how drafts work. And this is in response to your terrible take last week of the Lindsay Lohan 2024 release, Our Little Secret, as the second best Christmas movie of all time. Not only wait, you're laughing so hard you can't even hear it. Not only did I think it was bad at the time, I then found out that it was made in 2024. So when you think of classic movies, you have to have watched it multiple times. You've only watched this movie once. Twice. Okay. Kev, because I'm a man of my word, I watched the film.
You watched the whole thing?
I watched it. Not only that, Kev, I watched the other Lindsay Lohan one from 2022,
The Irish
which
one?
is called no. It's called what's it called? What's the Christmas movie called? While I look it up, did you do your homework and watch any of the ones that I suggested you watch? Is that a no, Kev? That's a
No.
no. Yeah, Kev, because this is what happens. You talk big game on the podcast and then you don't follow through, Kev.
I can't
All
believe
you
that-
could have watched Preacher's Wife, Christmas Vacation, even 8-Bit Christmas. I would have taken you.
Oh my
In
God.
fact, I watched Preacher's Wife, and I would recommend. It's a little slow. Whitney Houston's amazing, a little slow. Maybe don't watch that one. But I watched both Lindsay Lohan movies. Here's the review. You're absolutely wrong. Our Little Secret is awful.
Huh.
Okay. Now, my son, Lincoln, 14 years old, said, Kev's right. It's pretty good. He liked it. He liked it a lot. He got
It was
sucked
funny.
in.
Yeah.
He got sucked in.
It's funny.
I think Falling for Christmas, the 2022 one from
Was
Lindsay Lohan,
better?
is better. I think it's better. Yeah. I think it's a better version.
The fact
So-
that she's created there's a subgenre of
Yeah.
Lindsay Lohan Christmas Netflix movies to compete with the Hallmark movies, impressive.
Yeah, we talked about this. We said this might be real smart for her. This is her bag, right? Like she's going to make Christmas movies on Netflix, and it's great. I will throw in one last thing. When I went to the top 10 movies on Netflix, Our Little Secret was on the list. And
There you
that's what got
go.
me confused because I said, wait, was Kev really right? Is this movie amazing? And then I realized, no, it came out this year, and all new movies end up in the top 10. It is not.
Uh,
It should not be in the top 5. But
well,
I held to my word and I watched it,
that is impressive.
and you're absolutely wrong.
Oh
And you
man.
did not stick to your word. You need to watch Christmas Vacation, but now
Yep.
it's lost all its magic because it's almost January.
Oh no. Christmas lasts till January 15th if you're Catholic. So I'll watch
Oh,
it.
there you go. Okay. So Christmas
Um,
Vacation, that's the one I want you to watch.
yeah. Thank you for listening. Thank you for providing us with your movie recommendations. And we will see you in 2025.
2025. Let's do it.
All right. Have a great rest of your 2024.